So, as a guy who's been trying to build muscle and specifically an aesthetic physique over the past few years, I haven't reached the point where, is my end goal. Like, my end goal is to be 180 pounds, about 10% body fat. Because at my height, that's like essentially the ideal, like, aesthetic body weight that I'm trying to reach, I guess. But over the years, as I've been making progress from being like a skinny, little chubby guy to, now having a lot more muscle, I may not be able to really see it because of my jacket, but you may have seen some of my other videos. So, anyways, this is just some of the things that I've learned from having an aesthetic physique and kind of like the process of bulking and cutting. And may be able to relate to some of this. You may be able to just understand what's coming if you are a guy who's trying to build an aesthetic physique and, you're kind of on the cusp and you haven't really made that much progress. This video may be useful to you, but anyways, one, yes, having an aesthetic physique definitely does get you attraction from women. Not just attraction from women, but also like respect from men. I've definitely noticed, the way that people treat you, the way that girls look at you, and it's just different. When I was younger, I was like a skinny guy, kind of like chubby or whatever. And a lot of the girls who I wanted to be into me, like, they just wouldn't give me a chance, I guess. But now some of the women who I might have been attracted to when I was younger, like, they're definitely giving me more attention. And it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know if it's just me, but now that I've gotten to a higher level in physique and, I've increased my status in that sort of respect, you start to kind of, or at least for me, I've kind of like started to devalue women. And it's definitely a good thing because, you don't want to overvalue women and, essentially be a simp or whatever. But once you like get that a certain amount of attraction, you start to realize like obsessing over a certain girl, like really a lot of them aren't that special and like not in a demeaning, disrespectful way, but it's just like as your value goes up, you start to value those same women a little bit less because, the value discrepancy is different, I guess, which is an interesting thing I never thought would happen or I never realized might happen. Because I always kind of thought, okay, once I get an aesthetic physique, once I build more muscle, okay, yeah, I'm going to be excited because I can finally get those girls who I might have wanted. But now I just don't even feel that like pull towards them. Not in a fucking gay way or anything. It's just like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem, they just don't seem that important individually. But anyways, next thing that I learned is that being lean is king. It's kind of happened on accident. I was bulking for a while during the summer and then making the transition because I'm in college now, making that transition, going back to campus. I just wasn't eating as much. I was trying to like still bulk at that time, but I just wasn't getting in enough calories. I was getting in the protein, thankfully. Um, but yeah, I started doing that and I started to get really lean. Some of the, like I started to get like the hollow cheek effect and my jawline really started to pop out or whatever. I think like about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, if you see like some of those videos, like that's where I was the leanest and like, I guess subjectively, in my opinion, the best looking that I have been. And I've realized that being lean definitely does get you, specifically being like lean in the face, like where your jawline is really showing and, you have that hollow cheek kind of model look. That's definitely going to perform the best in terms of, getting attraction and like attention from women. Cause I guess that just looks the best. So I guess the reason I say this is that if you do get to that point where, you're on the cut, you really start getting lean and you may like start getting that hollow cheek look. Um, it's going to be very tempting to stay there. And I've seen a couple videos with guys who were like talking about how they kind of regret staying in this stage because it's like, it's hard to really explain. And I don't think a lot of people will really believe you because it just seems so outlandish. But the difference between like being muscular and, you know, still kind of chubby in the face versus being very lean and maybe not even having that much muscle, the attention you get is so fucking crazy. It's such a big difference. Um, and you know, a lot of you may want to stay there like I did for a while because I wanted to start bulking again because I knew that I wanted to have more muscle because even though I had some muscle at that point, I just wasn't as muscular as I wanted to be. And once I started bulking again, you know, I started getting, you know, more chubbier cheeks. And the level of attention that I got started to dissipate. And that loss of validation, you know, I'll be honest, like it kind of hurt. Because I had gotten used to feeling or getting that level of validation with pretty much not having to do anything, just like standing around and, you know, getting all this attention. But it definitely can be a trap. Like, cause like if you stay there, if you just want to like be lean like that, that's completely fine. Like it's your choice. But you're not going to be able to like fill out your physique and get to like that ideal level. And I certainly think that especially as I get older and the girls like who I will be attracted to get older, they'll probably want less of like that skinny model looking guy and maybe more of a more muscular, still like lean looking guy. I don't know, maybe just the way that I think, but I certainly think that if I can fill out my physique and get to like the ideal muscle mass that I need to, and then get lean, that'll be the best place to be rather than being kind of muscular, but still kind of skinny and being lean and kind of just like staying there and not really getting to the very peak that I can. That's just the way that I think about it. But if all you care about right now is, you know, looking good or whatever, and you have like already built a certain amount of muscle, if you get lean and specifically you like your jawline really starts to show and you kind of get that hollow cheek look, you will get a lot of attention. Another thing is that to build an aesthetic physique, dude, it takes years, like especially if you're natural and you don't want to go that route of taking a whole bunch of steroids. I don't know. I don't think even steroids get you like instant results. It definitely gets you faster results, but even then, I'm pretty sure that it still takes years. And, you know, me being a natural, it's going to take longer. Just years of disciplined effort, years of consistently getting that calorie intake, consistently going to the gym, consistently pushing yourself, excuse me, pushing yourself during those workouts, consistently getting that protein intake. It takes a lot of disciplined effort. And I guess I kind of had this idea that, okay, I'm only going to have to, you know, work out and go to the gym for a couple of years, and then I'll have the physique and, you know, I won't really have to do anything. But the way that I think about it now is that I'm just going to be working out. I'm going to be leveling up my physique or, you know, going to the gym, doing something like for the rest of my life, genuinely, even if I'm not specifically trying to, you know, get a specific, have an aesthetic physique or build an aesthetic physique, like when I'm a lot older. I'm still going to be doing something in the gym, still going to be maintaining that muscle and working out or whatever. And it's just having this like long-term mindset where it's not necessarily about, okay, I'm chasing this outcome. It's more about I'm becoming the person who just does this. I think that's a very good distinction and a very good like change in mindset to have. Because in a lot of things, in a lot of like these long-term goals, when I've tried to just do the thing so I could get the outcome, and then I had this idea of, okay, once I get the outcome, then I'm just like gonna leave and fuck off. Like a bunch of the different businesses I was trying for sure. And I'm pretty sure this is why I failed so many different businesses, is I had this idea of, okay, I'm going to put in this work right now, even if it sucks. And I'm going to get to this point where I can just stop doing it and I can like leave and just like rest on that income and whatever. But the way that has made me a lot more progress, especially for like my physique, and I'm applying it to a lot of other areas of my life. It's just, yes, you want the outcome, but not focusing so much on the outcome, instead focusing on becoming the person who just does the inputs because, you know, they want to. And then as a result, you get the outcome. Because for me, I've noticed when I'm so outcome oriented and I'm just like so fixated on getting this outcome in a certain period of time, and, you know, especially in the beginning stages, I may not be making a certain amount of progress that makes me feel like I'm going to make it. I end up quitting too early. But when I become the person who's just like, yeah, this is just something I do, I'm not so focused on getting the outcome like as quickly. I can take more time. I can make mistakes. I can keep going and keep pushing. So even if I don't get the outcome in the amount of time that I might have wanted, eventually I know that I am going to get the outcome because I'm going to put in the amount of work that is necessary to get that. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, getting an aesthetic physique, it definitely does take time, especially if you're going the natural way like I am. So just keep that in mind. But you know, the time is going to pass anyways. It's just, what will you have done with that time? Will you have put in the effort to, you know, get that aesthetic physique that you want? Or will you have just like slacked off and, you know, years down the line kind of regret, man, I could have had an amazing physique, but, you know, now it's going to be so much harder for me because I didn't, you know, put in the work earlier. But anyways, yeah. Another thing that I didn't realize, or I kind of understood, but I guess I just didn't want to admit. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So for me, when I started like building an aesthetic physique, I kind of thought of, okay, instead of talking to girls, instead of like improving my like game or whatever, I can just build this physique. And once I build this physique, the girls will come to me and I won't have to like work like all these other guys who have to like do this cold approaching and like work on their game, communication skills. I pretty much, in my head, it was just like, okay, once I build the physique, once I get really muscular and like start looking really good, I'm not going to have to talk to women. Women are going to want to talk to me. And it is true to a degree, like women will want to talk to you, but it's not like a lot of them are going to come up to you. It's just more so, it makes it easier for you to go up to them. They give you like more chances to fuck up, essentially. Yeah, that's the best way of thinking of it. Girls will give you more chances to fuck up when you have like a more muscular aesthetic build and you look a lot better. But you still need to talk to them. Like if you want to have girls in your life, if you want to either have a relationship, just have a lot of sex, whatever your goal is, I don't know. You're still going to need to have to talk to women if you want to have women. And I'll be honest, like for a while, I just haven't like really built up that skill of like consistently like cold approaching, or I don't know, doing whatever it is. Cause in this period of my life, I've kind of just come to the conclusion that it's going to be more of a waste of time. Cause after like, at least from my experience, however limited that may be, girls do take a lot of time. They take a lot of time, emotional energy, like resources, whatever. And I wanted to use that time instead to build myself up so that later on, it's going to be a lot easier. Later on, okay, once I decide, okay, I'm ready, Now I can talk to a whole bunch of women and like figure out what I want to do. But that's just my way of approaching it. But yeah, don't think that girls are just gonna fall into your lap. Yes, it does make it easier, but it doesn't do all of the work for you. You still have to go out there, put yourself out there, go and communicate, all that stuff. Yeah, that's a big thing. Other things that I wrote down for this is it's kind of like not that important. I mean, when you're like focused on building an aesthetic physique, it doesn't necessarily make you like that strong. Like let me change the way I say that. Like when you're focused on aesthetics and building muscle, it doesn't necessarily correlate to strength. Like when you're strength training or when you're like, I don't know, training for boxing or something, like the way that you train for those things are different. So while you may build some strength anyways, like trying to build an aesthetic physique, you're not going to be like optimized necessarily for being strong, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just felt the need to put that because I've noticed that there's some people in the gym who aren't like necessarily aesthetic focused, but they're definitely in like they seem to have like less muscle mass than me, but they're definitely stronger than me. They can definitely lift more weight than I can. And I don't know, it's just something I've noticed. Training for like building muscle and hypertrophy is kind of different than building strength alone. Of course, you will build strength anyways, just like by the process of building muscle, but it's not the same thing, I guess. And yeah, last thing is that building an aesthetic physique is not everything. I know when I was younger, I was so obsessed with building an aesthetic physique because I thought this is going to solve all of my problems, all my insecurities and dating. It's going to give me so much more respect for men. And, life is just going to be, life is just going to be a cakewalk at that point. That was kind of my mindset. But now I realize it's just a piece of it. Yes, it does help a lot. Yes, it is. It's something that, if I could restart life again and do it all over again, I would absolutely, go for building an aesthetic physique because it has helped me in plenty of different ways. But it's not everything. You've still got to go out there. If you're trying to get better with women, you still got to talk to them. If you're trying to get more respect for men, you've actually got to, build stuff and like get your credibility out there, take action, and all these things. Like it doesn't do everything for you, but it definitely does make life easier. It's just like one of those components. Just like having a whole bunch of money isn't the answer to everything. Yes, if you're broke, having a lot of money will definitely fix a whole bunch of your problems, but it's not everything because, even if you have a lot of money, money can't buy you love. Money can't, make you happy. You've still got to do these other things. Yes, it'll make doing those things probably quite a lot easier, but you've still got to go out and do those things. And that's the way that I see a lot of my goals, including like building an aesthetic physique. It's not everything, but it definitely helps in its own way and makes a lot of other things easier. Yeah, that's just some of the things that I've kind of realized when it comes to building an aesthetic physique that, you either may relate to or you may find valuable as you're on your journey to building it. I've certainly not reached the point where I want to be like at the end goal. Right now I'm like 165 pounds, maybe like 163, like lean. But yeah, it's just some of the things that I've learned, like as a person who's been building his physique. So hope you got some value from this. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Peace out.